because you're our one stalwart who keeps saying they're going to go. It's, even though it seems like they may not, it's hard to resist something like that.
Another win for America. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, Donald Trump has gotten a huge win for America, completely undermining Carney. This is humiliating. A massive deal coming out of India. We got a House of Commons session where the talk of oil blows up in the House of Commons. We've got some new polling data. We got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, we got a private commissioned poll here. It's coming from Rob Shaw. Says Check News. I've obtained a second recent poll, which was privately commissioned. It says here BC Conservatives 41%, BC NDP 37%, Greens 11%, 1BC 6%. It seems British Columbia is one of the few places in Canada now which has a strong conservative movement. I'm not sure what's going on in Alberta because the polls seem to be surging for the Liberals there, which makes no sense whatsoever, but hard to know what you can trust. But we are seeing multiple polls out of BC where the Conservatives are leading. With all of Mark Carney's babble about how great he's doing and how great Canada is doing, here's the real results. We've got Kirk posting this. So Mark Carney came out with a tweet saying, India's energy demand is increasing faster than anywhere else in the world. As an energy superpower, Canada is well positioned to seize this opportunity, which is a whole lot of nothing. Carney here is talking about seizing the opportunity, talks about net zero, low carbon oil multiple times in the House of Commons. And what does Trump come out with? Real action. America is returning to real energy dominance. Today, I'm proud to announce that America First Refining is opening the first new U.S. oil refinery in 50 years in Brownsville, Texas. This is a historic $300 billion deal, the biggest in U.S. history, a massive win for American workers, energy, and the great people of South Texas. Thank you to our partners in India and their largest privately held energy company, Reliance, for this tremendous investment. That's right, Reliance GIO, the very same Reliance headed up by Mukesh Ambani that Mark Carney met with, went to his house for dinner, met his family. He wasn't able to ink this deal, but Trump does? Was Carney over there advocating for this deal to happen in America? You gotta wonder. He's over there trying to sign net zero deals with India, and Trump gets the big refinery deal. Why isn't that being built in Canada? This is embarrassing. Carney was just there at this guy's house, and Trump signs this deal with Mukesh for Texas, for America. This is embarrassing on so many levels. Not only that, to put salt in the wound here, he goes on to say that this will be the cleanest refinery in the world. It will power global markets, bring thousands of long overdue jobs. I mean, Carney could have bragged about this being clean and green if he wanted to wrap that into his portfolio, but he can't get a deal done. This is so embarrassing. This guy's such a failure. On top of this deal is great for Mark Carney's oil portfolio in America, as we see all of his American stocks here, 514 of them to be exact. Meanwhile, he's only got 3 in Canada, and I've got them broken down by industry here. Renewables up here, industrial energy and materials here. He's invested in a ton of oil and gas stocks. You can see like Chevron, DT Midstream. You just go through them here. There's tons of them. ExxonMobil. This is only going to strengthen the oil industry in America, which is great for all of Carney's investments here. Meanwhile, Canada gets left hung out to dry once again. We've got 3 countries begging for our oil, and Carney can't ink a deal to save his life. Meanwhile, what's Carney's next step? Well, he's going over to Norway. We know that. We've got Mackenzie Gray from Global News here telling us that sources tell Global News after his upcoming trip to Yellowknife, Norway, Carney will not return home with his Canadian delegation. Instead, Carney will stay in London, then head to Rome for vacation over March break. He's going on vacation after failing Canada, and bamboozled Canadians are like, elbows up, he's winning for us. He's not doing anything. This guy should not be able to take a vacation until he gets us a win in something, anything. Just think of this for a second. He's going on vacation when we have Mexico potentially doing a bilateral agreement with America and Kuzma falling apart. He doesn't even care. He's like, whatever, I'll just go on vacation. He sends Dominic LeBlanc down there. Yeah, you handle it. Jumping over to the House of Commons, would you believe it or not, we have Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney going head to head once again, 2 days in a row.
Speaker, the Prime Minister had 4 flip-flops on Iran in just the same number of days. This is a pattern. He's also flip-flopped on oil and gas. He wrote a book called Values, in which he said he wanted to keep 50% of our energy in the ground. He said in that book he wanted to raise carbon taxes. And then he claimed that he had flip-flopped on that, while he's since kept in place every anti-development law that Trudeau passed. He has renamed the carbon tax, and he's brought in an industrial carbon tax that has driven away an $8 billion project. So will he flip-flop again, reverse these liberal policies so that we can actually supply the world with the energy it needs in this critical time?
It's amazing. The Liberals haven't addressed that $8 billion project. It's a oil sands expansion project that has been halted because of this, and they won't address it. And I don't think they even care.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate receiving this gift on this day honoring Ireland. Canada is increased at record levels our oil exports. Canada has approved under this government Silicim. Canada has approved and started one of the biggest LNG. Canada is working to the lowest carbon LNG and the lowest carbon oil exports in the world. We'll maintain and increase our competitive position. We're driving straight forward.
There it is. And you're going to see throughout this House of Commons session, it's all about low carbon oil. He's starting to roll out the net zero agenda because now he's going to have full control here come in in 2 months.
Speaker, he's driving in circles. He said that he did not want, he wanted to keep 50% of our oil in the ground. He supported blocking the pipeline to the Pacific. He's not approved a single oil pipeline, and his major projects office has not approved a project of any kind. He's just tried to take credit for a project approved by Prime Minister Harper. Next, he'll be trying to claim credit for the Canadian Pacific Railway. So will the Prime Minister flip-flop again? Reverse his support of an industrial carbon tax, the Liberal anti-development laws, and get out of the way so that we can build pipelines to the Pacific, power paychecks for our people.
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said in my book, as it is the policy of this government, we want the lowest risk, the lowest carbon, the lowest cost oil and gas, and that's what makes ours competitive. That's the story of Canadian LNG. That's the story of the MOU with Alberta. That is the story of Bay du Nord. That is how you drive the country forward, not off a cliff like the member opposite.
They need to challenge him for proof on that because there is no proof. There's no proof that making it low carbon will bring us in more customers. All the customers who are demanding our oil and gas do not want low carbon. They don't care about that. They need to press them on the facts, and when they have no facts, it'll expose the grift. And while the topic of oil is here, we've already got numerous countries who want our oil. India, China, Taiwan, all demanding our oil. None of those countries care if it's net zero. This is the time to really focus down on this. How Mark Carney is invested in America. He doesn't care about the outcome of Canada. All he cares about is pushing through his net zero policies, which will boost the value in Brookfield. 91% invested in America. He's recently brought in Glenn Purves here, who used to be global head of macro research at BlackRock. Not to mention Mark Wiseman, who also used to be a board member at BlackRock. We essentially have all these plants in the government of big corporate America, not to mention Carney himself invested in America. He needs to tie Carney to America and show that he's not doing what's best for Canada. Because clearly the debate on cost of living, it's not going anywhere. Jobs, the economy, people can see Carney's failing. You have to get him right at the core of what he stands for and where he's going to take us and prove it's not going to work. Challenge him on proof for the net zero agenda. There is none. And quite the opposite. The places we've seen this rolled out, like the UK, it's been absolutely disastrous to their economy.
Mr. Speaker, the world cannot put meaningless pieces of paper and meaningless MOUs in their gas tanks. They need real energy that comes out of our ground. The Prime Minister said he wants to keep it in the ground, and yet today we had the hilarious spectacle of the Liberal Natural Resource Minister saying Canada will do what it can to help with its stockpiles for the current energy shortage. Our stockpiles are zero, Mr. Speaker. So will the Prime Minister flip-flop again, adopt my policy that we should have a strategic oil and mineral reserve so that we can supply the world in the future?
Pierre needs to announce we're going to build a refinery in Canada, and then we're going to stockpile our own oil. And then we're going to price the oil at market prices and not discounts to America. At this point, it doesn't matter. Carney's going to get his majority. So what they really need to do is start making a roadmap for 2029. So this doesn't happen again, because Canada is going to be even worse shape 3 years from now.
Mr. Speaker, there's many policies of the member opposite I will not adopt. One of them is flip-flopping, jumping around, searching for ridings every election. I will not adopt is...
Why are they clapping for this? You see this? He just gave him a wink. This guy is such a smug jerk. Why are they clapping for this? He kicked out Chandra Arya with no proof of anything, stole his riding, then jabs him with the flip-flop comment. Damien Kirk at least gave his seat up for Pierre Poilievre. This guy stole his seat.
The most competitive oil and gas in the world. Our oil exports have never been higher under this government. Over 5 million barrels per day, and they will increase because they will be low carbon, low cost, low risk.
Here, here, here.
You want to see the effect of Mark Carney becoming prime minister on Brookfield's renewable sector? Because this is the only benefit of making our energy more low carbon. Look at this, Brookfield Renewables. We're going back to 2022 back here, 2021 almost. And you can see this chart has just gone down and down and down and down and down. Mark Carney gets elected right there. Right there, and then it goes back up because people know that he's going to push out this stuff, so the stock goes up. It's not going up for a good reason. It's just going up because they know what Carney stands for, what's in his book.
Mr. Speaker, sometimes he makes it too easy. Today we have 0 oil stockpiles. We have a strategic maple syrup stockpile, Mr. Speaker, which the Prime Minister could use to put maple syrup on the pancakes that he flip-flops on. But, Mr. Speaker, we don't have any oil to supply to the world in the time of this crisis. Will he reverse the anti-development policies that he has supported that has come from the previous Liberal government in order to unlock our production, power the world, and the paychecks here at home?
Mr. Speaker, this is the way the G7 oil reserve works. If you're an importer, you have to have an oil reserve. If you're an exporter, which Canada is under this government, if you have record exports, which Canada is under this government, that is how you supply the world. I salute the work of the Minister of Natural Resource and the Minister of Finance, working with G7 counterparts, confirmed with my G7 leader counterparts today to release 400 million barrels from that strategic reserve.
This guy's such a clown. We have an $8 billion project being put on hold. Oil project. He loves to lean on oil when it's convenient for him. The rest of the time, he'll demonize it because it's not part of his net zero agenda.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
To release 400 million barrels of oil from that strategic stockpile, how many of those are coming from Canada? Exactly 0. And the Prime Minister's excuse, the reason why we have no stockpiles, he says, is because we're a producer of oil. This is exactly the opposite of logic. The United States is a producer of oil. They have stockpiles. We have reserves, which the Prime Minister is successfully keeping in the ground. Just last week, we saw an $8 billion project canceled under his watch. We're importing gas from Australia. Why won't he get out of the way so we can produce our own energy?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite thinks he's on a rich vein, but he's tapping a dry well. Under this government, production has never been so high. Exports have never been so high. We approve Bay du Nord. We are working with the province of Alberta to produce the lowest cost, lowest carbon oil and gas. We are expanding our exports. We are expanding our future.
Hear, hear.
We have a graph here showing exactly what Pierre Poilievre is saying, that Canada has 0 oil reserves. Mark Carney, once again, lying in the House of Commons. We've got Japan here with about 110 days of oil, US with 80 days, Germany with 60. It goes all the way down. Italy has just over 20 days worth of oil. Canada has 0. What exactly are we releasing out into the wild? And this is coming in response to what we're seeing here, American oil tanker struck by explosive drone boats near Iraqi waters. Apparently there's been 3 tankers being hit in the last 24 hours. That is not good. So that thing is burning to the ground. What is America retaliating with? They are unleashing bunker buster bombs, which we see here being loaded up on US B-1 strategic bombers at RAF Fairford in the UK. They want people to see this, as that account said. That's why they're filming this. They want people to see these bunker busters being loaded into these planes. These bombs weigh between 2,000 and 5,000 pounds, depending on which ones they are. They penetrate so deep into the ground and then explode, taking out all their underground facilities, which is what they're doing in Iran. They're taking out all of their drone facilities that are underground. These bombs are huge. And with that, we have one of them being used in action here. This is getting ugly. It's really quite unreal. I mean, look at the polling data we got from Nick Nanos here on CTV.
Every MP that decides to cross to the Liberals from a Mark Carney perspective is a step towards having a majority in the House of Commons.
And today feels like the most guaranteed of those steps, only because it leads us to about a month from now when there's going to be 3 by-elections. Let's show everybody where those 3 by-elections are occurring and why it seems almost close to certain that at least 2 of them.
So we already know this. They're going to get a majority from these by-elections. Almost guaranteed these 2 on the left are going to go Liberal and maybe Terrebonne. But jumping ahead.
Let's take a look at your top line numbers, where the Liberals and the Conservatives and the New Democrats and Bloc sit at this point in time. That just keeps getting wider,
yes,
right?
Absolutely. You know, the thing is, a month ago, Vashi, it was within the statistical margin of error for the survey. Now you can see the Liberals are 13, a whopping 13 points ahead of the Conservatives. NDP back at 10, Bloc at 5. It shows right now the trajectory is favoring Mark Carney.
This is unreal. Carney hasn't done anything to achieve this aside from dirty backroom deals pulling people over. And you got to wonder, is he going to get another 3% of the NDP vote, which will just jump over here to 49 and they go down to 7 because of another floor crosser from Laurie Idlut? This is undemocratic, just offering millions of dollars of taxpayer money into certain ridings just to get people to flip. This should be against the law because it's not in Canada's best interest. Obviously, it's just in individual MPs' best interest and Carney's best interest.
And so what do you think that does to the calculation for an election? Because you're our one stalwart who keeps saying they're going to go. It's, you know, even though it seems like they may not, it's hard to resist something like that.
Well, what this does show is that the environment for the by-elections are very favorable to the Liberals, which speaks to the advantage that they have. You know, the big question is how long will this advantage last? Mm-hmm. And will Mark Carney want to, I don't want to say roll the dice, but take a chance on potential federal election? Because he will be negotiating with Donald Trump. Does he want to negotiate with Donald Trump with a 1-seat majority in the House of Commons or potentially with a mandate that could be stronger? But that said, Vashi, you call an election, all bets are off. It doesn't mean just because the Liberals are ahead today that they'll win a majority.
You remind me of the last election, like the general election that occurred now close to a year ago. Yeah. If I recall, they had a pretty wide lead to start that campaign. And by the very last day, it had almost completely narrowed.
Absolutely.
That's why Carney did a 36-day election, because he knew once people figured out who he was, people wouldn't vote for him. In this case, I actually agree with Nick Nanos. I don't usually agree with him that often, but I think he's right here in that, does Carney look at this and say, is 170 good enough, or would he rather have a 200-seat majority where there's no question about him rolling out net zero agenda? Clearly, a lot of these people in Parliament have no morals. They don't care whatsoever. It's just all about the money. So most of them are just stay loyal to him, but maybe some of them won't like that new censorship bills taking freedoms away and maybe wouldn't support Carney's votes. I think it's unlikely, but if you just have 1 or 2 that do it, well, then stuff doesn't go through. Does Carney capitalize on this? Nick Nanos seems to think so. I'm not so sure, because I think Mark Carney doesn't like the work of campaigning. He doesn't want to go do that again. He wants that one and done. So I guess time will tell. Maybe Carney will tell us after his vacation.